our next speaker, we'd just like to give a thank you to MLA Linda Reamer, who's here today to support our youth. So thank you very much for coming out and supporting and watching this voice speak competition, and I hope you're enjoying it. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Bodgin.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. "2,400 years ago, an idea was put to paper. An idea which would define the very foundations of philosophy, psychology, neurology, and would influence great minds with the likes of Sigmund Freud, William Herbert Sheldon, and Friedrich Nietzsche. This idea has remained relevant for over 2.5 millennia. Today, I'm here to challenge it. Ladies and gentlemen, this idea comes from a Greek philosopher, Aristocles, son of Ariston, more commonly referred to as Plato. In a book he wrote 2,500 years ago, where he introduced this revolutionary concept that would momentously impact the very concept of our existence. This idea is the tripartite soul. The tripartite soul is basically the concept that the soul consists of 3 parts: the logical, the spirited, and the appetitive. But the most important part of his theory is his belief that the best human beings, and he certainly believed that some human beings were better than others, the best human beings were always ruled, were always dictated by the logical part of their soul. Today, I'm going to be attempting, hopefully successfully, to contradict one of the greatest philosophers, most illustriously renowned theories, by saying that no, the greatest people are not ruled by logic. The greatest people are driven by their spirit. I'm going to use an example to illustrate this point that's very close to my heart. However, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's about the Ukrainian Revolution. The revolution of dignity. I'm Ukrainian, so this seemed way too relevant to even consider. So I'll start. November 2013, Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych rejected a political association and free trade agreement with the European Union, instead choosing to take a bailout from Russia, obviously. So this got the people mad. Thousands of people, men and women, teenagers, adults, youth, and elders, came out to show that they didn't agree with this, to show that they didn't agree with this decision. What were they met by? The government cracked down on the protesters. And by February, they had killed 100 civilians. 100 innocent people like you and I. Youth, adults, seniors, who are merely trying to have their voice heard. Now, you can take a look at this literally as a mere revolution, but you can also look at it the way I'm going to demonstrate it today, the way I'm going to speak about it today, in terms of the tripartite soul, with each party of the revolution, with each aspect, the government, the protesters, etc., being represented by a part of the soul. So let's start with government. What are they? They fulfill the primal aspects of our soul. They fulfill the desire to satisfy greed with the decision that President Yanukovych made to take $15 billion from Russia into his own bank account and to completely disregard his people. The next group, the logical, those would be the people who remained unaffiliated, those who would stay home, those who would do nothing, not take the side of the government and not take the side of the protesters. Those who were swayed by supposed wisdom, truth, and analysis to choose the path that would lead to the least amount of loss on their behalf. But there's also a darker side to this logical, this rational thinking. That darker side is the special police forces, whose rational thinking led to the slaughter of 100 citizens, the injury of 1,100 citizens, and the arrestation of 77 innocent people, while sustaining 13 deaths and 272 casualties themselves. I mean, of course, it's rational. It's easy to hide behind iron shields and police batons and protective armor. But it certainly isn't wrong. Now, the last part is the spirited part. The part that represents the people who took action for their voice, for their democracy, for their rights, who disregarded the risk of harm, the risk of death, the risk of mutilation. These people were driven to do so by their spirit. And now I ask you, how would the world be different if instead of questioning every decision with logic, reason, and analysis, we simply did what we thought was right? Thank you. Yeah, this one is. Yeah.
Thank you for your speech. That was definitely a tough task to take on, and I think you did a very good job. Your question is, describe any recent activity where you had shown leadership.
So the reason I picked this topic is because a recent activity where I was expected to show leadership was actually a city-run organization called the Reach Awards. And the Reach Awards is basically a way of recognizing youth and youth groups, youth mentors, youth-related businesses who have made a contribution to youth. And I suppose I'll just tell you what I did at this event, since the question was just to explain. So during this event, there were something like 100 people there. And I was expected to go up in front of all of those people, read a speech that I just received, and list out the awards. Well, I did that. And, it was hard. But I have to say, leadership isn't only the ability to successfully manage other people. It's also the ability to show initiative and take opportunities. And I think that despite of making a fool of myself in front of something like 100 people, I also gained valuable opportunities doing it. Thank you.